What is medical school? Like, explain in like a paragraph the intensity of what medical school is.
It's pretty damn intense. It's really about breaking you down and building you back up in the way they see fit. It's very similar to the military that way.
What they do, and I tell people this all the time. I talk to my clients, I'm like, look, here's what your doctor went through.
Mm.
They were the top of their class in undergrad. They were number one. So their ego is pumped. They're confident, and they should be. They're very smart people. They go to medical school, and now they're one of whatever the class is, 100, and every single one of them was that. So only one of them can be the top now.
Yep.
So now it's an ego experience, right? So you're breaking down the ego, and people are like, oh, that's not bad for anybody. I agree. It's not always bad for anybody, but it's hard because this person's been the smartest forever.
That's true.
So it's hard. And then they put you all together and they tell you, do what we do, and we're going to put you through tests. And you're graded. And if you get bad grades, you're going to fail, and all this money that you just spent, your whole life's goal is gone. So that's going to move you down a certain path of thought process.
Hi, I'm Dr.jessicapeatross, and on my podcast, Dr. Jess Unfiltered, we uncover the real root cause of most misunderstood symptoms with help from top experts and real patients who've healed themselves.
Hello again, and welcome back to the Dr. Jess Unfiltered podcast. Today, I'm really excited because I not only have a colleague, a really great friend of mine, but an excellent practitioner too. His name is Dr. Jaban Moore. He's not only just a chiropractor, he's so many other things, you guys. He is a national lecturer. He takes the stage and educates everyone. He educates on social media. He can fix you spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And we practice very similarly. Dr. Jaban, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to hang out and talk with you as always.
Yeah, it's like I said, we're really good friends. And I guess, for me, I've heard your story before, but I would love for the audience out here to hear, your health journey and how you got into what you're doing now.
I've got basically a double health journey. So my mom, when I was young, and I can vividly remember just being a kid and walking out of the bedroom that I had, and it walked right into the living room, really small house. And my mom was just always on the couch, just always on the couch around 10 years old. So, as a kid, you have no idea what's going on. So to give a little bit of information, she was on 40 medications at one point. In a single day, 40 medications, like pills, for depression, acid reflux, digestive issues, fatigue, brain fog, cholesterol, high blood pressure, you name the thing, she was on it. And they were trying numerous to try and get her body under control. They had no idea what was going on. And I know from practice that this is the story of millions of Americans. Millions and millions of people around the world are dealing with this situation. She was about 105 pounds, and she doubled plus to about 262 during this period of time while she was basically stuck on the couch, going to personal trainers, eating broccoli and chicken, and was just miserable, leaving her son, me. I'm an only child, leaving me with my dad. And, I remember what my dad was cooking me in food, and just thinking back, I'm like, whew. It was burgers and fries and hominy, if you've ever ate that, most nights, right? Because my mom's sick and she just can't function. I remember her watching the Home Shopping Network every night, all night, but being asleep all day. And the thing that changed all of this was she got in a car accident on the way from dropping me off for daycare before elementary school. And she went to the ER, and the doc was just like, are you diabetic? Because she didn't put that on her paperwork. And she said, no. And this is a woman on 40 pills, right? So like, you'd think she would know what she was diagnosed with at this point. So he goes back and he runs her labs twice to confirm her A1C was sky high.
Oh.
She had been missed for diabetes, and all of this other stuff had developed over a number of years. Who knows how long? I honestly haven't gone back and done the deep dive into all the records because it was 30 years ago now. And somehow diabetes slipped through and it crashed her entire body. And then from there, of course, they get her on diabetic medication, which is now throwing off all these other medications. And to this day, 30 years later, she's still not right. She's had now a gastric bypass and a thyroid cancer surgery and lymph node removals, up to today. So I remember at 10 years old, I was just thinking like, I just want to help my mom, and there's got to be a better way. And all of these pills are not working. And why can't her doctors help her? And I wanted to be a doctor my whole life since 5. So like it was just this culmination of living in a world where the status quo wasn't good enough. But still don't blame them. I just want to figure out how to do better for people. And then I ended up getting Lyme disease in college. And my story is not as long. I was a college athlete, all American. I graduated, went to chiro school, lost 60 pounds, and my body just started to crash. Which doesn't make sense, right? I lose weight, get healthier. I'm not in, it's not professional sports, it's college sports, but like a professional training program. I'm more balanced in life and I'm getting worse. Erectile dysfunction, joints killing me. And as I go through school, when you're in school, the cool thing is you're going to conferences, you're meeting people. Like I met you at a conference. So I'm meeting doctors everywhere I go. And I'm asking questions. And these are not just mainstream doctors. These are functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, chiropractors, everything. And they're all just like from the top of the spectrum to, off the wall recommendations. So the little blue pill to L-arginine, which is what a lot of functional medicine doctors are using when it comes to erectile dysfunction, to fasting or red light or sauna. And none of it worked, by the way. None of it worked at all. And I was talking to some guys at another conference because I'm just trying to help myself, just like so many other people. And they're like, have you thought about Lyme disease? I was like, no, because a decade ago, Lyme disease wasn't popular. We don't have social media in 2012 like we do today, where everybody's talking about everything. If you got your algorithm going the right direction, you're going to run into some things. And I ended up driving to Wisconsin, going to Dr. Lindsley. And the crazy thing is once you find someone that actually knows what the heck they're doing and is willing to listen and work, within a few months, my whole life changed. And I'm back on my feet and feeling better. And that's what catapulted me between my mom and myself to going, one, you have to have a systematic approach that makes sure you don't miss things. Because every doctor is supposed to find diabetes. It's so standardized. But if you're not systematized, you miss it. And then also with Lyme disease, you also have to keep an open mind to look beyond your own knowledge, because someone's going to walk in. As soon as you get good at whatever you're doing, somebody's walking in with the next thing.
So true. So let me ask you, I come from the conventional medical world as a medical doctor, and we weren't really taught about chronic Lyme. So I know a lot of people out there listening are saying, wait a second, you got this weird symptoms that have nothing to do really overtly or directly with Lyme disease, at least taught in the conventional world. So can you explain chronic Lyme? Why is this missed by the conventional medical world?
So it's not just chronic Lyme, by the way. We all just went through the pandemic, right? And they finally, for the first time in my lifetime that I'm aware of, accept that there is a chronic something, chronic COVID, right? Like we all know long haulers at this point.
Yes.
Long haulers is just the latest. You have an infection that left you with symptoms that perpetuate beyond when you have the active fever infection state. Well, Lyme disease is the same thing. You have an infection that is sticking around longer. Well, what is that? Is it that you have the actual COVID or Borrelia, which is, by the way, Borrelia is the bacteria, for those listening. I know you know this, but the bacteria that is associated to Lyme disease, that is the disease scientific species name. But it's so much more than just that one thing, because if you can get a chronic infection, Lyme disease, it's not because your body's healthy and strong and resilient. It's because there's something that makes you vulnerable. So in my case, I was living in a moldy basement in college because I was a poor kid. And I took the room that nobody else wanted in the basement because it's $200 a month. And I remember to this day vividly the smell of mold in that room. I remember the floods that would come up through the drain, and I would squeegee it back to the drain. I remember mold growth and mildew growing up the bottom of the floor, like up the paneling, like the wood, like the old school wood paneling, growing up that. And I was just like, I don't care. It's cheap. Like it smells. My girlfriend didn't like it, but I didn't know any better. Just like so many people listening, right, don't know any better about a lot of things. So that made me vulnerable. And
Mhm.
that vulnerability led to food allergies, which was
Mm.
my body being overreactive to the things that I was eating. It led to body pain and joint pain, which was the babesia, which is a co-infection of Lyme disease, getting into my joints and wearing on them. And by the way, there's no antibiotic or medical treatment that I've ever ran into that can get all the way into the joints and get it out. You have to get something that can be transdermal, get into the tissues. Like, look it up, do the research right now if you're interested in this. You cannot get the antibiotic into the ligament and tendons in the tissue. Like, you just don't get antibiotics in there.
Yeah.
So you have to do something different or better. Dr. Lindsley figured some of this out about going transdermal. So he's got creams that you would put on your joints and your hands. And I've had people come into my clinic that had been through years of PICC line or
Yes.
port IVs
Yes.
that still have awful joints. And I give them a cream topically of herbs, and they're like, I'm good.
Yeah. It's wild.
So Lyme disease is the great mimicker. So when you're weak, the infection goes to your weakness. So if it gets in your brain, go look up studies. It's going to be MS. It's going to be in your heart, Lyme endocarditis, which is where you get inflammation around your heart. You could have tachycardia. I've seen babesia, which is that co-infection I mentioned earlier, which is a parasite. Do that.
Mm-hmm.
Lyme doesn't really do a lot to the gut in my experience. And when I say Lyme, I mean Borrelia. I'm not talking about different co-infections that can be associated. It absolutely will make your joints weak and tired. You can get Bartonella, another bacterial infection that can get into your blood vessels that cause inflammation. So then you don't have the endurance in the muscles. It can also get into your heels where you have pain in your heels. So Lyme disease, because it's a great mimicker, it goes where you're weak, and all the co-infections can attack at your body when your mitochondria is down. And that's why I was bringing up COVID earlier. When you're weak from mold or the trauma you had as a child, the radioactive water you're drinking, which 170 million Americans are drinking radioactive water.
Mm.
If it's the VOCs in your house, when you're weak, these infections, these stealth infections, or as you call them, frenemies. I remember stealing that from you when you were on stage one time, and I was just like, that's genius. And I've said that in my practice so many times. That's when this stuff gets at you. And the misnomer is that people tell me all the time, they're like, well, I don't have X, so I can't have Y. Like, I don't have this symptom, so I can't be that. And I was just like, these infections don't play by your playbook. They don't play by the medical charting playbook. Like, yes, it's good to have an idea of where they go, but also let's run some tests.
Exactly. I agree with you completely. So you brought something up. You said that Lyme is a great mimicker. It can cause this myriad of symptoms for depending on the person and what genetic predispositions they seem to have or what life experiences they've had. Why does conventional medicine and my boat of doctors that I was trained with, why do they kind of poo-poo away conventional Lyme? Why don't they? What's the difference or the discrepancy here between the different fields?
Let me go down two rabbit holes for you. There's two rabbit holes that I talk to clients about. Because here's the deal. I don't blame your medical doctor, that's the GP, or your endo doctor that you went to next, or your gastrologist, or even your neurologist for missing some of this stuff, because they're trained on a gold standard. They're trained, and you know this, I mean, you can speak to this better than I can, but there is a standard of care that follows the insurance model that allows them to go down a certain path, right? So they're just following what they're allowed to do. They're also only allowed to run testing and do certain practices, and they have to follow, let's say, the CDC lab testing, which is complete garbage. I'm a math guy here. So for all of you out there that don't like math, I'm sorry. I'm going to show you why this doesn't make sense. The CDC, and I believe it was about 2015, they said, okay, we found 25,000 people that tested positive for Lyme, but we think, this is the CDC, more like 300,000 up to 1 million people contracted Lyme this year. What's the math on that? It's less than 8% accuracy.
Yeah.
That's an awful test. Anybody else get an 8% success rate in their job and they keep it? No. So why are we using this test? Just don't run the test, which any doctor, even the infectious disease guys that I've talked to that were treating some of my patients, they even know, like, it's probably just a clinical diagnosis, right? So The doctors that are in the know, your LLMDs, they know that that test is garbage. They're going to move on from it,
Hmm.
but they're still going to follow the standard of care, which is going to be antibiotics, because that's what the insurances cover, if at all. And that's what they're allowed to be trained on. And then the other part is this. Have you ever looked at like the CIA and what mind control looks like, or going down this rabbit hole of how to brainwash somebody?
Safe and effective, Jaban. Safe and effective.
What is medical school? Like, explain in like a paragraph the intensity of what medical school is.
It's pretty damn intense. It's really about breaking you down and building you back up in the way they see fit. It's very similar to the military that way.
But what they do, and I tell people this all the time, I talk to my clients, I'm like, look, here's what your doctor went through. They were the top of their class in undergrad. They were number one. So their ego is pumped. They're confident, and they should be. They're very smart people. They go to medical school, and now they're one of whatever the class is, 100, and every single one of them was that. So only one of them can be the top now.
Yep.
So now it's an ego experience, right? So you're breaking down the ego, and people are like, oh, that's not bad for anybody. I agree. It's not always bad for anybody, but it's hard because this person's been the smartest forever.
That's true.
So it's hard. And then they put you all together and they tell you, do what we do, and we're going to put you through tests. And you're graded. And if you get bad grades, you're going to fail, and all this money that you just spent, your whole life's goal is gone. So that's going to move you down a certain path of thought process. And then I'm going to put you into residency, and you're going to work 80 hours a week while studying, and we're going to sleep deprive you.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So, okay, now you're sleep deprived. You just had to study to keep up with the other most brilliant people in the country. And you're trying to do everything you can just to survive so that you can eventually get out and make $1 or $2, because you also have no money because you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars in school and you're making almost nothing when you're in residency. And then you get out of school and now you're still the low man on the totem pole. You still get the crappiest shifts. You still have an 80-hour work week, but you start making a little money after residency's over. And you think that that person that just went through all of that wants to now go and learn how to actually practice human medicine and figure out what the most cutting edge thing is after they just got out of school, where they were taught what is 20 and 30 and 40 years old and is not the cutting edge. And it's not what real patients need, by the way, in most cases. I remember going through school, in my opinion, and I didn't go through medical school, but I've talked to a lot of people who have, and I went through chiropractic school. We're taught how to pass a test.
That's true.
Not how to help an individual.
Yeah.
And you're saying that's true. So just think about your medical doctor and go, do you think that when they graduated school, the first and most important thing on their mind was to go learn more and research more and stay up all night to figure out what the hard client is dealing with or the hard patient is dealing with? Or is it like, man, I just got out of this and I would like to like go meet somebody to fall in love with or go on a vacation or hey, how about this? Sleep.
Yeah. Because when you're constantly working in survival mode, it makes you kind of selfish because you can really only think about yourself. You can't really think about the people you're caring for, even though that's the whole purpose of the job.
Yeah.
Because you're sleep deprived and hungry.
And they do this because they want you to be able to function sleep deprived. So if you're working in an ER, but I'm like, sure, maybe you do this to ER doctors and trauma docs because maybe that's necessary. I'm not even going to get into that. I don't know. I'm not that. But why does your infectious disease doc that works 9 to 5 need to be in that same thought process? I know this is way off of like the whole conversation, but like I'm kind of defending the medical system, the doctor part, not the system part, to say when I got into practice, I was different because I had just gotten out of school where, I was studying and I was going through boards and I was sleep deprived to some degree. I did not go through like the same medical residency where you're doing it like that. But I got out and I was studying Lyme because I had it.
Yeah.
And then when I got in practice, sure, did I go out and have a little bit of fun? And I probably didn't study a bunch my first month, but then the docs that I was going and searching from that knew that I had Lyme that couldn't help me, and the one that did, they're like, oh, by the way, this is before virtual doctoring, by the way. Well, you're the guy in the Midwest now. We're going to send everyone with Lyme to you. And I'm like, well, first of all, I had no money, so I was going to take on any client I could, and I was going to call back these guys and get help. But secondly, you're the only person I saw that day, maybe, which means that I knew I had to do a really, really, really good job for that person. And it gave me such a leap forward into research
Mm.
and learning and being at the cutting edge. And honestly, I think there's something to doctors that, one, passionately have a direction for it, but secondly, ones that learn from their patients. And I am where I am today because every time you get somebody better, they send you someone harder.
Yeah.
It's not that they just send you more of themselves. They send you someone harder, someone that the next guy hasn't figured out, and that this patient honestly can't figure out after everything they've been through. And for me as an athlete, it was always just fun to like take on that challenge.
Yeah.
And then, we get where you and I are now, where you're down the rabbit hole of Lyme turn mold turn parasite turn nervous system turn MCAS.
Everything.
And you're just like, how does this symptom exist? Sometimes I step back and I just think to myself, how is this happening?
It's a snowball effect, really. Once the system's dysregulated, it's really easy to pull the other organ systems out of whack, I think. It's just like a snowball effect almost with people.
I mean, can you believe, if you're listening right now, there are people that are so sensitive to the world that they can eat 2 foods, they can't stand in sunlight, 10 seconds of red light triggers them, and 1 pinch of a granule of something triggers their body. Those people exist. And you just step back and you're like, no, that's not real.
It's a tendency not to believe these people, honestly, and they are dead serious with us. I now believe everything they say.
I believe everything a client says
Yes.
to an extreme level. And you're taught in school to like question it to some degree. And I'm like, these people are not coming in and paying good money and doing the work.
Yeah.
That's the thing. They're doing the work
That's right.
to lie to me. Now, are there cases where they come in and maybe we do need a mindset shift? Maybe that's a piece of the puzzle. And I'm not saying it's in your head. I'm not calling you crazy. I'm not saying you need a depression medication. I'm just saying there needs to be maybe a different angle that we need to look at things from. That is sometimes the truth. But it's just so interesting when these people come in, they're like, no one believes me. And I'm like, why would you be bedridden for fun?
Well, these doctors, before you mentioned, they are the top of their class. And some of them, not all, but some of them have not worked through their ego issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really difficult to tell a patient, I don't know what's going on with you when you have an ego. It's easier to say you're making it up.
Oh, I tell people all the time, I don't know what's going on. All the time.
Right.
All the time. I'm like, you know what? I don't exactly know what's going on here. I know we can work on this and this, and I'm going to research that. And I'm going to call 2 friends over here.
Mm-hmm.
But as my clinic has continued to grow, I've gotten the opportunity now to bring on medical doctors and kind of help them escape the system.
Yeah.
And I laugh with them and I'm like, all right, look, you remember all those patients when you were family care or when you were in internal medicine that none of y'all wanted because there was no solution. They took a lot of extra time. They were the ones that you couldn't find answers for. They're like, yeah. I'm like, that's all of our patients.
It's all.
That's who we see.
Yeah.
And the great thing is the ones that have come into our practice, they're ones that are like, I always wanted to help them, but we literally don't have time or resources or training to even know where to go. And I'm like, well, we've got all of that. We will figure it out. And if you run into somebody you can't figure out, let me know and we'll go down the Rolodex. I got the old black book and I'm like, we'll go down the Rolodex and call someone and we're going to figure this out because there is an answer. It's not always easy. And I tell clients that every day. I'm like, I know what's going on with you, but it doesn't mean that it's easy and it doesn't mean it's fast.
Absolutely. And that's the truth. It's really setting expectations for these people in clinic. Speaking of things people don't pick up on or know what's going on all the time, you mentioned radiation and drinking irradiated water. And it sounds like something from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Can you explain, please?
Yeah, you're not going to become Spider-Man with this. Yeah. Oh, the sludge. I'm going back in time. I remember all my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle days. I'll give you a picture for the podcast at the bottom. You can put on there when I was like 7 and I was Raphael.
Yes, the nunchucks.
Oh, yeah. She doesn't even know. See, she was the pretty cheerleader. It's the sigh for Raphael.
Oh, yikes. Who was the nunchucks? Leonardo.
Nope,
Maybe?
that was the sword.
I quit.
Michelangelo. There we go. I'm the nerd over here. Yeah, I'm the nerd. So radiation, right? Okay. So first of all, right now, as you're listening to this on one of your screens, because we all have multiple screens these days, except for Jess when she's working. I was just giving her a hard time. I'm sorry, definitely. You don't have 2 screens. What's going on? Who does that?
I didn't even think of
So what you got to do is go to ewg.org, go to their water database, type in your specific zip code, and then just scroll down and find your city and see what's there. If you have uranium, radium, thallium, or cesium, your water's radioactive. Why is this important? Well, you don't want to stand in a microwave. You don't want to go hang out near a nuclear power plant,
that.
and you don't want radon in your basement for a reason. It will kill you over time. And it's not good for you. It's going to mutate your cells. And unfortunately, like I said, you're not going to turn into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You're not going to turn into Spider-Man. You're going the other way. So you're wasting away. Your immune system's weakening. Your internal body feels like it's vibrating. You just generally feel weak, exhausted, overwhelmed, and burnt out. That's what's going to end up happening. So when you look up your water supply and it says uranium, and then you're just like, oh, well, I have a fridge filter. No, that's not it. Well, okay, I have a carbon filter. Nope. Kangen, not doing it. Nope, sorry. Reverse osmosis, right? Like, that's great. No. The only thing I've seen consistently remove uranium and radium and all these is actual distilling of water, which is a very specific type of filtration. And the reason we want to remove it is because I've only seen a couple of things absolutely crush your mitochondria as a toxin, where I can see it repeatedly over and over. One is mycotoxins or mold. And the second one is radioactive elements. The third that I've seen is a ton of mercury. And I'm not talking about like the little bits that you get even from like one filling. Is that a problem? Yes, but it hasn't crushed mitochondria where I can see in an organic acid test, where I can see your Krebs cycle and I can see your fatty acid cycle actually like collapsing, like where they're just all red ping to the side of the testing. No, that's uranium, radium, and mold. So that's why it's important. If your mitochondria are off, you just, all the symptoms I said earlier, you feel awful and you're not coming out of it. You're in cell danger response, and that's building and you're breaking. And the reason why distillers work, just take us down that, is a distiller, and trust me, you know you have a distiller if you have a distiller. If you're like, I don't know, maybe I'll go check. You don't have a distiller. And here's why. A distiller takes effort because you have this machine that has to be cleaned once a month. And when you own a distiller and you have to clean it, you'll never not have a distiller again.
Gross.
Because when you go clean this thing, you're scraping off like a 1/4 inch of what looks like this off-white yellow hardening stuff that looks like it should be in a toilet. And it smells like it.
You got frenemies from me. I got infertility water from you.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
The infertility water. Yes. I've absolutely said that a million times. And so when you have the distiller, you know what you're cleaning, and it heats the water, and those really heavy elements, those radioactive elements that are at the bottom of your periodic chart, stay in the tank.
Oh.
And then the other stuff, the H2O, evaporates into another tank, and then it gets filtered so that you can remove anything that goes with the vaporized water. And then now you're drinking it. So in my home, we have a carbon filter for the whole house because you can't distill to your whole house.
Yeah.
And then it goes to the distiller. So we don't have to clean the distiller quite as often, which is also a benefit.
Okay.
And the thing is you have to live in an environment that is safe enough for you to get well, right? Like for me, I go through my brain as a systematic approach because we all love all the new stuff, Jess. We love the latest cutting edge thing. You know, is it EBU or ionophoresis, or is it this cool red light therapy, or this dopamine chair that you have here that I was sitting on? The cool new tech is fun and it goes viral.
Yes.
The problem is you can't forget about the old stuff. And as we go down our list as docs, there's so much to think about. There's so much to remember that you need to just check off the list to understand if somebody can even get well. Water's one of them.
Water's one of them.
It's not sexy, but like check water and air and food and hygiene and implants and dental, like just going down the list, you have to be in a place where you can get well to be able to get well. And many doctors, they're like, oh, I got this new supplement routine, or I got this new therapy, this new coffee enema, this new colonic, and they skip steps.
Yes.
And that's the important thing that people really have to realize. And we don't want to talk about water. They're like, oh, just don't drink plastic. Okay, we're good.
It's not that. It's more.
And I'm just like, we've got to dial in each of these pieces. And then if, you live in a place that is now safe, do you feel safe there?
I ask people that too. You're exactly right.
And if you ask people, I don't know if you've had this happen, a number of people that I've asked, do you feel safe? And that question is so foreign to them as a concept. Like to even think about feeling safe and relaxed somewhere. I'm like, of course you're not getting well.
They don't even know how to answer it sometimes. They're like stutter on the answer because they've never even thought about that. I know. And most of them don't.
No. If you're listening right now, and as I've been saying, anything, your shoulders are creeping up, they're just kind of like going up to your ears or like climbing, or you're leaning in more and more and more as we're listening. You're a little on the edge of your seat, or you're just like, oh man, I haven't checked that. I haven't done this. And you've got this list in your mind that's constantly stressing you out and you're worried about it. Or if you've grown up in a household that you honestly picked up on these habits or personality types, A type, people pleasing, OCD, you're a worrywart.
Yeah.
Those personality types, you're a great mom, wife, provider, employee, but you might not be a great caregiver to yourself because you're wearing yourself out, which is why you end up in our clinic. Because if there is a battery or a bank account that you could check your charge on, you spend half of your daily energy on all this other stuff, and it's not on being well or healing or feeling safe. And that's what a lot of the clients that I'm working with really have to realize is you only have so much energy to spend in a day. Where are we putting it?
Exactly. And I think a lot of people don't think about that. I mean, what happens to the body long term when you're stuck in flight or fight? I mean, does it show up as, pain, autoimmunity? What do you see?
All of that. So I'm going to go from labs to symptoms to outcomes, right? So what happens when you're fight or flight all day? Cortisol goes up, which is your fight or flight hormones, comes from the adrenals. You see the late night commercials, cortisol's up, you're going to get fat here, right? So that happens. You start gaining weight. Yeah. So you're in the United States where we are undernourished, overweight, and it's because we get bad nutrients, too much stress, and we end up getting fat, right? So you've got that sort of thing going on because you're stuck in fight or flight for whatever reason, all the things we've talked about. Then I go and look at your labs. Your minerals are low in your body. So I can look at an organic acid test, the bottom of the test, your minerals are low. You're not breaking down amino acids, so proteins aren't breaking down. Your gut is leaky. And then we look at your nutrients. You're burning through your nutrients, so they're depleting. You're probably trying not to eat because you're like, I'm overweight. It's not a food problem. And in many cases for the clients that come into my office is because they've already been through 7 doctors that have already corrected their diet, hoping that would solve the problem. And it doesn't. And then I go into a hair tissue mineral test and your sodium and your potassium are just gone. They're just bottomed out. Your cobalt, which is methylcobalamin or B12, is used up. So we're starting to see this pattern developing across the labs. These people, oftentimes they're like, I'm exercise intolerant. I just have no motivation. I'm burnt out. I just don't enjoy things that I used to enjoy. And that can be anything. They start retracting from society. They're not as social as they used to be.
Wait, are you saying this is nervous system dysregulation? Because I don't think a lot of people would pick up on that.
So yes, nervous system dysregulation is a key piece of this. And I talk about in many podcasts, like the neurotoxic loop. So what is nervous system dysregulation? Is this that your nervous system is dysregulated because of lifestyle, trauma, personality, genetics that create this fight or flight state without the infections and the toxins? So you got that classification of people over here, and those people, um, not necessarily them, but there's a class of people that they just want to do breath work.
Yeah.
They want to listen to the turtle drum that's super relaxing, and you're listening to all the right music, you're doing your binaural beats, you're looking through your neurofeedback glasses, you're doing all the things nervous system. And then you've got the other category of people who they're like, well, my nervous system is just regulated because I have infections and toxins, and that is causing my body to feel unsafe, which is leading to all the symptoms. But I don't want to do all this stuff over here, all this nervous system stuff. I just want to kill stuff and detox it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's neurotoxic loop, because if you're toxic, your nervous system's dysregulated. Your nervous system's dysregulated, your immune system's suppressed, your detox pathways are broken. So then you don't detox. So then you accumulate all the stuff. So you have to figure out it's both. And even if you go to social media right now and you start Googling, you're going to find all the people. I'm going to come up with a new word right now. You got the nervous system bros or the nervous system ladies that it's all nervous system, and we should just breathe our way through and do our eye yoga, and then everything's going to be okay. No, it's not necessarily just that.
Mm-mm.
But then you also have your other people that's like, oh, just take ivermectin all day and take charcoal or Ebu or chelate. And if you do that, you're fine. And then your nervous system will go back. And I'm like, no, you won't. You're going to end up in my clinic because one or the other won't work, and we got to do both.
That's right. That's right. So do you think possibly that being in flight or fight chronically is attracting said pathogens?
Is it attracting it, or is it making you vulnerable to it? And we all run into it every day.
Yes. Which one? What do you think? Is it possible?
I mean, you're going down the conversation to me of like the energetic path of like what's attracting to your body. I think that if you are stuck in fight or flight, you have dysregulated your gut, which opened up the gut to being leaky. That leakiness allows infections into your body. I think that you're suppressing your immune system, so your immune system can't respond appropriately. So then you end up not being able to defend against the toxins. I think your body's not focused on detoxification because it's in fight or flight. So then the toxins start to accumulate, which further suppresses your immune system. Because why is it that one person can handle the radioactive elements in their water and another can't? Well, could it be genetic? Sure. Could it be that one person's more anabolic and working out and flushing their body more? Yes. Or could it be that this person's in fight or flight, so their body's not focused on detox, it's focused on survival? They're different. And then this person over here is in a spot where they are not fight or flight, right? So their body is just dealing with things as they're coming. They go into rest and digest at night. Their body is able to flush things out versus, are they being attracted to you? So do parasites, viruses, or otherwise want to come into you because of it? I don't know the answer to that, but I know your terrain is just trash.
Yes.
When you're stuck in fight or flight. And that's what the world does to us. I don't care what your political affiliation is, your algorithm will tell you, and it will feed you all the crap that'll trigger you over and over and over.
Hear.
It will trigger you. The world's coming to an end because of X politician, or, if it's health that you worry about, you're going to get all the guys that are out there that are fear mongering, that are posting everything's going to kill you with no solutions. Or, the world is just wired to trigger us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way it is.
Absolutely. Can you give me an example? You work with people who've basically tried everything, seen all kinds of variety of doctors. Can you give me an example of a shocking transformation you've seen with one of your clients or patients, like using nervous system or, using radiation, revving up their mitochondria, whatever it was?
I was thinking about this in a conversation I was having with my team. They're just like, what's the coolest change that you've seen? And I'm like, I've seen like 10,000 clients at this point. The coolest one was this guy. He was a scary book writer for kids.
Oh.
was like a Goosebumps writer kind of guy, right? Like he was 31 years old. And when he came in, my room in my office was like 60 foot down the hallway. That's not that far for you and I to think about walking. They're like, can you put a chair in the middle?
Mm.
He's 31 years old. 2 years earlier, he was overweight, but totally functional. Now he's emaciated. He's curled over on a walker,
Oh.
and they didn't know what to do with him. And just to make everybody laugh, because this is a frame of reference thing, the patient that referred him in was his like uncle-in-law, right? And the guy was like, "Oh, my nephew down South Missouri, because I'm Northern Missouri, nobody can help him. He's just got a little bit of pain. Can you help him?" I'm like, "Probably. There's like a little neuropathy. Okay, I probably can help him." So they bring him up. He's coming down my hallway, and I'm just like, "That's a little bit of neuropathy." And I remember this patient's name, and he came with him, and he was in my office. I'm like, we have real big different definitions of neuropathy. But he's coming down my hallway, and he sits down after 2 stops and gets in my room and he's like, ugh. He'd been to Mayo. He'd been to all the clinics in Kansas City. He brought a stack of labs this thick. He was diagnosed with B6 toxicity.
Oh, I've heard of this. Yeah.
And that was his diagnosis. And at the time, I was doing a test where we prick your finger and look at your blood, which no longer can I do because the CLIA, the lab governing body, came in and said, well, to do this, you have to have a class blah, blah, blah lab that has this, this, and that. And basically, the only way you can do it is if you have a medical doctor that's had a year or longer as a pathologist working in your lab, in your office. And I was like, so I can't do it. And they're like, no, you can. You just had blah, blah, blah. And they go through I'm like, I don't make $6 million a year to have a lab and pay a doc to do this for me all day. And I do this for like $20 because I want people to see it. Anyway, I can't do it anymore. But in the finger prick, and at the time, lab testing was bad. Now we've actually got testing where I can look this stuff up. But there were more bacteria in his blood than there were blood cells. So I was like, obviously, that's not a B6 toxicity. Something else is going on here. I couldn't give him a diagnosis based off that. It's just an observation. So then I went on to look at the lab testing that was a CDC negative Lyme, which was trash. So then I ran further testing, figured out that he really did have Lyme. But this guy, he couldn't tolerate hardly any supplements. And this was pre-COVID, pre the mast cell explosion. This was my first guy with mast cell I ever worked with. We spent almost a year trying to help him to be able to detox. I mentioned Scary Book right earlier, right? Mm-hmm. When we started doing parasite cleansing at a very light amount, started pooping out parasites. But this is one of those guys that, because of his profession, got real into it.
Yeah.
And of course, he wants to show you pictures. He measured his parasites 300 foot a month for 3 full months before he just gave up on doing it. And they were changing type. And he was putting them in a 5-gallon bucket.
Oh my
and I was like, first of all, that's nasty. That's just nasty. That's going to smell. That's nasty.
Yeah.
But he was into it because he really wanted to heal. And I came up with a method of treatment for him because we kept fighting and trying and fighting and trying and working. And we called it the pulse method, where we would do like a dose on and then like 7 days off, a dose on, 6 days off, because his body could not tolerate building up by titration, like 1-2 drops a day, building up to higher doses. So we figured this out for him. And I just remember him going from there to, like, again, a year later, his uncle walks in, who's still seeing me just on an occasion for tune-ups. And he shows me a video. And it's this patient who couldn't walk down my hallway. And he was doing this like L-arginine body movement where you like flap your arms and you kind of flap your legs, which he could not do at the beginning. And he recorded himself. He could not flap his arms for 30 seconds sitting down when we started.
Wow. And
he flaps his arms and then he jumps up and kicks his leg in the air and claps his hands under his leg.
Oh my God.
And the guy couldn't walk down the hallway without a walker. And like, I just stopped and I just started like tearing up. And I feel like I'm going to do it right now. Because I was just like, holy crap. Like, this is why we do what we do. And I just remember the amount of sleep I lost and frustration I had and conversations I had with team members and friends and colleagues, because I mean, I'd never seen someone so destroyed by what he was dealing with. And last time I talked to him, it was because he was better, had a full-time job, was making money. His wife, who had MS, became a patient who had dropped foot and lost feeling in her arm, and that was gone, and that had gotten better. And they were just checking in. And
so they both had Lyme.
They both ended up having Lyme.
Wow.
We don't know if it's sexually transmitted or whatever. Big, huge question.
Yeah.
But I just, just thinking back to those two, that family. And it's just like, it was such a blessing for me to have them when I did and be able to work with them and have them like open my eyes to so much. Because he taught me the pulse method, taught me patience personally and professionally. And he gave me the confidence to work with me long enough to be able to figure it out with him. So like, he blessed me and my practice and so many people after him that I've been able to help. And I've taught the pulse method from stages, and doctors will message me that it's helping their patients. And we wanted to name it after him. And I'm like, that's not HIPAA compliant. But originally I had it named after him on my paperwork in the clinic. And then, the coolest part of that whole story is just that, like, he's living.
31 years old.
Like, he's out there, he's living, he's thriving. And it all started because they moved into a rental that had a jet tub that had mold behind the walls of the tub in the pipes. And I had no idea that when water gets through a tub, if it's not an air jet, it's a water jet, then it will almost always grow mold in there. So he was soaking his Epsom salt baths, and he was doing all this stuff in this tub.
Oh, man.
So he's basically forcing mold across his skin into his body. And that's the beginning of this whole story for him.
So mold lowered his immune system enough to where he could get Lyme disease, or it could take over his body in some way. What do you say to these people out there, the naysayers, who say parasites aren't that big of a problem and that's not what you saw coming out of him?
It depends on who's saying it. If they have reasonable logic in their brain, then I start having a fun conversation with them. I'm like, okay, so parasites don't exist? They're not in the United States, right? Because that's the prefaces. That's where they preface it. Like, where's the research? Show me it. Okay, let's talk. So can we agree that parasites exist in the United States? Not necessarily in humans, but just in general in the soil that can get into animals. Yes, no one's arguing that. Do you do a parasite cleanse of some sort? Does your vet recommend it? And they have proof that it's necessary at least, usually twice a year. Yes, you do. Do they have testing to find this parasite? Can you see this come out of them if you have pets? Okay, yes. No question. Does your indoor cat get parasites that never leaves the inside, or your indoor dog in the condo of New York or whatever that does not go outside? What do you feed it? Little pebbles, right? Little pebbles of whatever. Or maybe you feed it human food, because today people feed their animals better food than they feed themselves, let's be honest. But do you feed it really quality food or pebbles? And they're like, yes. Okay. So let's go with the pebble people. The pebble people, the industry standard has to be that there's no parasites in the pebbles, because they check for that. So now they are feeding food that there's absolutely no parasites in, which, by the way, as humans, we eat food with parasites in it all day. Yeah. Because do you eat raw fruit, raw vegetables, not fully cooked? Do you eat medium or less meat? Do you have sushi?
I do not have sushi anymore.
Okay, well,
Everyone
a
else
lot of
gets.
people does. Do you stick your hands in the dirt? Do you play in the sand? Do you go swimming in a lake, a pond, the ocean for that matter? If the answer is yes to any of that, do you have an animal that can have parasites?
Absolutely.
Then you're around parasites. If you do any of that. Okay.
Mm.
So if your animal lives in an environment that there are not parasites in your home because they're in the 27th floor condo of New York, never go outside and eat food that doesn't have parasites, but they still get parasites, where do they come from?
Mm.
You. They come from the human that drags them in with their shoes.
Mhm.
Or they're blowing through the wind and they get in through the window or through the door or however they get in because we come into contact with food and or environment of parasites constantly. All right, so we know they're here. You can't deny it anymore. I don't care who you are. It's not deniable. Like, tell me you don't come in contact with them. Try it. They're only in Africa. They're only in Mexico. No, they're absolutely not only in those places. We just proved that they're where we are. Okay. Now, human bodies, are we healthier as a population than that dog that you curate their life? I'm talking about princess bag lady, perfect life puppy that you still deworm. No, you don't live a better life than them. I guarantee you, you don't eat better than them. You go out and have a drink. You get stressed out and take your antacids. You have taken antibiotics. You do all the things that make you vulnerable to parasites because if your gut bacteria are not healthy, guess what? You're going to get a parasite because the bacteria defend you against parasites. So if you've had an antibiotic, an antacid, a drug that messes with your immune system, so antidepressants or otherwise, you're not going to have an immune system or a digestive tract that can protect you properly. Any of that. If you're stressed out, you decrease your hydrochloric acid in your stomach, which takes away the protective lining of acids that would incinerate the parasites when you eat them from your raw vegan diet, your fresh fruits. I'm not telling you not to eat those things. I'm just telling you that's going to potentially have parasites. Your meats, your sushis, whatever, it's all coming in. So now that we know that your digestive tract as an American for sure, and as a human is likely vulnerable, and you're also getting the parasites in your diet that is coming from Mexico and Colombia and India and everywhere else, how could we not be vulnerable and have parasites? How is it even conceptually possible to argue that fact?
It's true. I agree. And we don't have the best food system in the world anymore. We don't have the best immune system in the world anymore. So it makes sense to me. I mean, I guess, with parasites, they seem to be a central part of how we practice. And, I've learned a lot from you and other chiropractors as a medical doctor. I credit a lot of my knowledge to people like you and your colleagues. So how is chiropractic, why does that still scare people? And what keeps people stuck from learning about what you do and medical doctors from learning from you like me?
So I think what it is, I mean, one, medical school is hard to get into. So there's ego, right? Like if that's the peak, then why are we going to go below? Why are we going to go
Mm.
to people that we don't look at as highly educated or that are at the top of the system or whatever thought process? So there's some of that because trust me, I have a social media account like you do, and man, the hits that we take for you're not this, you're not a real doctor, you can't know about it. I'm like, wait a minute. So I can't research something and have a clue about anything because I don't have MD after my name. Like when did we become information police everywhere? Like it's insane. I can go on chat GPT right now and I can learn how to code. I can learn how to be an engineer. I'm not saying I'm going to go out and build a giant bridge, but I can at least learn about it and talk about it. And to be honest, the computer programmers and the tech people in my world now never got degrees, and they're way better than the people that are getting degrees in most cases. I've met patients who have 10 times more knowledge than most of the colleagues I have with whatever degrees, MD, DO, DC, PT, whatever, because they're passionately researching what's on the cutting edge. And I really truly think that it comes down to there is just there's just this thing that we used to think about that is no longer the truth, which is you go to school and you learn information and then you're the expert because information wasn't moving at light speed.
Right.
Today, if you're not keeping up, you're falling behind. That's just as simple as it is. So if you have a medical doctor that graduated 20 years ago, can they save your life if you need CPR or if you need some basic life-saving practice that has not changed because it's an ER move?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please, if it's an emergency, go to the ER.
Right.
But if it's about the cutting edge of the best medication, the best herb, the best lifestyle management, the best diets, go to somebody who's up to date. And that is not information that one is being taught in school today anyway. You have to be at the cutting edge and it's moving faster every day. And we all know this. So when I'm at conferences and I'm hanging out with your friends as medical doctors, every time I hang around you at a conference, there's a new medical doctor that walks up to you that's like, I thought you were this crazy person that was whatever. When we were at this conference, at this CEU, this whatever, which is continuing eds. And now they're like, now I see what you're talking about. Every time I'm at a conference, you have another medical doctor thanking you for being at the cutting edge. And now they're like, I feel so far behind you, Jess.
Yeah. I thought I was a quack the whole time. That's what they made me feel like, for sure. Yeah. It's all coming full circle now. I guess, Dr. Jaban, for the person listening out there who's exhausted, anxious, inflamed, they have no hope, what's the first belief they need to let go of to heal?
The first belief they have to let go of to heal and that their body isn't meant. So it's not necessarily a belief outwardly. It's a lot of people walk in and they don't realize their body's supposed to be healthy. Yeah. It's so interesting because the norm now is sick. It's not well. The norm now is symptoms. It's not the lack of symptoms. You and I joke about this all the time because I've been through my health journey. I've gone through Lyme and mold and parasites and the whole thing. And my body overall genetically is really hard to break down. I was really, really stupid in college because I was very, very, very stubborn with my living experience. And what I've realized is when you're well, your body does amazing at staying well. And if you give it the confidence, it will stay there. So many people don't realize that I don't think about my digestive tract. I don't even know it exists. Like, do you ever think about your gut?
No.
Never. Do you think about your brain? Like, do you realize the brain is there? Like, you can feel it. You think about it?
No.
No. Do you think about your knee joints or your elbow joints or your heart, your lungs?
No.
No, you survive. You're like living without the knowledge of all these individual little parts of your body. Whereas most of our clients and patients, they know all of these things. They're thinking about all of these things. It's symptoms that tell them that those organs exist. So the belief I want you to get rid of is the belief that you should need to know all of that. And the belief that you have to do this on your own and you have to monitor all that. And you have to. When people come into my clinic, I'm like, look, don't give me trust blindly, but you followed me for a year. You've looked at what I do. You've researched. You gave me the trust to give me the time because time's expensive and the money to pay for this appointment to run the labs. Can you give me a couple months of trust where you stay off the Facebook forums? You get out of Instagram scrolling. You step away from being a leader in your world of health. And, you just allow yourself to go back to living and you allow for me to take that burden on for you so that you can then rest.
So it's surrender and trust.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. Dr. Jaban Moore, thank you for coming on the podcast today. You're a wealth of information. I love you as a friend and a colleague and a business partner too. So can you tell everyone listening, where can they find more of you?
Just look me up. My name, Dr. Jaban Moore, spelled J-A-B as in boy, A-N. We're on every platform, all of them.
Yeah. So platform, you have a virtual clinic, right? You have a brick and mortar clinic in Kansas City.
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, we're here just to help. I mean, after you've gone through what I've gone through, you just want people to know it's possible to heal. You just want them to have the hope and the knowledge whether I can help you and you want to work with me or not. You just need to know your body is designed to be well, and you're designed to be able to get out there and do the things you love.
I love it. Thank you so, so much.
If this episode spoke to you, subscribe and share it with someone who can't find answers to what ails them. Please consider leaving a review. It helps others find our podcast. And download the Wellness Care Plan I've made for you for free on my site, wellnessplus.com.